traditional gel coat over there.
Yeah.
And then they've cut
gone
down.
and put the thruster in. That's got glass over gel coat, so that'll all be in trap. That's no good. All these have obviously been the blisters, which are more coming out of the original. Where they're the bumps we're finding.
Yeah.
There's just more of these coming out.
Yeah.
To be honest, these repairs look okay.
Okay.
We'd have to get all this cleaned out and moisture test it all.
Yeah. But
it's just a bag of worms. It's all been done. So it depends. They've got to get all the paint off, so we can get it all cleaned up.
Yeah.
So we can then come in and start measuring stuff. Have a little grind out.
Yeah.
We obviously, it's getting all the anti-foul and all the paint system off.
Yeah, yeah.
That's painful. But the problem is here, there's all little blisters
I can see 'em.
in the gel coat. So that's the reason why they've obviously done this.
Yeah.
And now this is all starting to. It's pretty much your worst case scenario.
Yeah, thanks, mate.
If there's wet glass underneath that, these guys will start blowing too
Into
much.
Yeah.
You'll end up with we've at least got, we can possibly work with this. The hardest thing is with these guys is working out what point to back, like to get them to blast it. All the paint's off.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the main. All our anti-foul, all our epoxy's off. We're back to gel coat.
Yeah.
As soon as we start ripping in the gel coat,
Yeah.
ideally, it's really hard. I think if these guys go any harder than what they're doing, it's going to make a real. If they start trying to blow all this off.
All right, here we are back at the 36, and you can see this tent. You can't see much today because all you've got is this tent in front of us, the tent around the hull, and then down here we have one of a couple of diesel heaters. Now, as per the Naval Architect's recommendations, we're drying out the hull. That process involved first moisture testing the hull, and we had some quite high readings. And what we need to do is get the whole hull down to about 20% or less. 20% or less is the point where, you know, fiberglass will still bond to fiberglass and those sorts of things. But that's what we want, 20% or less throughout the whole reading of the hull. So hence the need to start drying out the hull. Now this process is drying and blasting, drying and blasting. So what we do is we put heat in there, and that also forces out the osmosis, I guess you call it acid. That acid comes out, but what happens when you're heating it, it also dries it out. So as it dries out, that solution starts to get a bit gloopy. So then it's pressure washed off, and then dried, and pressure washed off, and then dried and pressure washed off. This process to dry this boat will probably take about 4 weeks because it was considerably wet, but the inside of the boat was quite dry. So it's, imagine the laminates on the outside, that's where the water's ingress is mostly happening. So the inside's quite dry. So we've got that gap, sort of about 30% of the outside laminate, which is quite moist, and that's what we're drying out here and washing off that solution as it starts to ooze out of the boat. So it's a bit of a process that's involved. So yeah, you can't just dry it out because that osmosis goop, or the, as you've heard me say in the past, the stuff that smells exactly like vinegar on chips when you pop the bubbles, it dries out, the moisture goes out of it, but leaves this sort of claggy residue behind. So this is what has to be done properly. So what tends to happen is people will do these sort of repairs in spot checks and bits and pieces, but what's happening is the goop's drying out, but it's actually just still sitting in there. It may even look to be solid again, but this stuff's just turned into like a pasty goop that's now sort of bonding, but it's not a proper bond, it's more of a false bond.